with just the basics of IFS. They call them the 8 C's. And we can start with compassion. We can start with compassion. That we were hearing from Zoe and Jack, this depth of compassion. What's that like? To know this compassion. To be this intrinsic compassion. Perhaps even causeless. It's just here. There's just this compassion and this love. And then, who cares? Who cares about that? Well, there's compassion here. Who cares? And this is the question for your system and for your parts. Can you find aspects of you that love that compassion is here? That compassion is a superhero quality of self in your system. My invitation is, after we go through maybe 12 of these together, to find which one does your system love the most, do your parts love the most? This compassion, parts of you that really love that and so excited about it. And then we're going to see which is the one that's loved the most, and which is your second one that's loved the most. So there we start with compassion. And then in these 8 C's, there's calm. Calm as an intrinsic quality of self. And for some, we might have different words for it. It might be peace. Might be ease. What's like calm? What's most like calm that's here now? And how can calm be a superpower? How is calm useful in your system? Do you have parts that just, oh, I'm so grateful that there's calm, there's peace here, that you get to be the peace person inside your system and for others? How's that useful from your parts place, from your parts perspective? Is it a who cares, peace, whatever, or peace? It's pretty awesome in the midst of the storm, in the midst of dissonance. It's to being or in an environment with people who are having difficulties. I am calm, I am peace. Next C, connectedness. Connectedness. Intrinsic connectedness. This might be what Jack was pointing to with his experience. This connectedness. And you might have different words for this. It might be union, unity. It might be shared being. It's funny, connectedness might even be love. What's most like connectedness? How does connectedness show up as an intrinsic quality, as a self? Connectedness. And who cares? Connectedness, that's just some spiritual word. How's that useful for your parts, for you and time and you and the world? Connectedness. How's it a superhero power? Superpower. Connectedness. Do your parts care? Are there parts of you, gosh, this is so great. Parts that never feel alone because there's this connectedness that's here. Or perhaps connectedness is the end of any kind of loneliness. It makes loneliness impossible because we are connected with others. Superhero, superpower. People are having difficulties. We're the one that's connected. They can feel the intimacy of our connection with them. How is that valued in your system, this connectedness? The next C is curiosity, but not a curiosity from a part or from a lack or figuring something out to get something. It's just the intrinsic nature of our beingness, this wonder, this awe, this curiosity. How does it play in your system? What's your word for it? It might not be curiosity. It might be more the sense of welcoming, inquiry, interest, fascination, but not from lack, from this openness. How is that alive in you as you? And then who cares? Why is that cool? Why is that a superpower? For your parts, how do they get value from this? That there's curiosity. Perhaps they're just, when they're seen as they arise, they're just met from this, wow, tell me more. Who are you? This curiosity that's just here. Is it like that in your system? Or how does the curiosity play internally? And how is it a superpower in the world? How is it a superpower in the world? Perhaps someone honks their horn at you or says mean things. Rather than a reaction, it's just met by this curiosity. How is that a superpower? How is that cool? Okay, and it's just so far, which is the favorite? Which of these does your parts like the best so far? This calm, this connectedness, this compassion, or this curiosity? Those are four of the eight. Which one is like the best superhero power for your system, for your parts, both internally and in the world? And we'll see what the runner-up is. So we'll go to the fifth one, which is clarity, the fifth C in IFS, clarity. What does that mean in your system? Raymond spoke of this discernment that was just here, this discernment that comes from some difficult situations in our past. There's just this discernment. Is this clarity? Do you have, what's your word? Is it knowing? Clarity, knowing, discernment, but from not from lack, not from parts, from the very intrinsic beingness. What's most like that in you? And then who cares? There's clarity here, there's knowing here. Who cares? Why is it cool? How's it useful for your parts, for your internal world, where there is this knowing, this clarity? Is that where some of the safety comes from that Zoe speaks of? This safety. What does it give to your inner world, this knowing? Is it an inner compass? Is it something it can trust? Does it allow a sense of trust in your system? What's the gift of clarity, of knowing for your parts? And then what about in the world? You as this superhero ability of clarity in the world. Is it like a compass? Is it a clear seeing? How does it give you? What's the power? What's the gift of that? And that's five. We've got three left. Next C is confidence. This is a tricky one, right? Because we're not talking about, again, confidence from parts. We're speaking of a confidence. It's just of our nature. See how that translates into your system. We were hearing it as Zoe was speaking about being a teacher, right? We were hearing that confidence that was there. How does confidence play? Maybe what you might have a very different word for this, or perhaps it blends together with some of these other qualities. And I'm just going to add the seventh one to this right now because they're very similar. Courage, quality of courage. Is that different than confidence in your system? Courage. Some people speak of a fearlessness of self as we begin to know this, that Zoe was speaking of it, like it can't be enhanced or diminished. A sense of a fearlessness that comes. Maybe that's the confidence or the courage. And how is that, like, again, who cares? How is that useful for your parts, for your inner world, this confidence or courage that's here? What does that give to you? Why is that a really cool superpower for your inner world? And then to take out into the world, how is this confidence or courage a cool superhero, superpower? And again, this confidence or courage is not relative or contingent on anything that happens. It just is. It just is. And the last one of the classic IFS qualities of self is creativity. So, what's most like creativity that is intrinsic to your nature? And then again, maybe you have a different word for that. And this isn't something you do, it's your nature. Maybe it's flow. Maybe it's creativity. Maybe it's play. Maybe it's joy. What's a creativity? And then who cares for your parts? How is that creativity, that play, that flow, whatever your word is, how is that useful? How is that a gift, a superpower for your inner world that is perhaps always here? And then what about in the world? I was going to add more qualities, but I think this is plenty. This is a lot in these eight. So as we move towards closure of this little dive, what did you find? Which of those were most compelling for your systems? Like, gosh, I'm so happy I got this, or I want more of this one, or this one in the world. This is what I love having. This is me in the world, or me inside. So, what was the winner for your system of those eight? And it could be your words for each of these, whatever your words are. What was the winner and what was the runner up?